been protests. Sometimes it's hard to even remember what the world was like before now. And yet the gospel is still good news. And heaven still rejoices over the number one. To make Jesus known, we each have to start with one lost person. Think about it. If I were to ask you who's your one, would you have an answer? I know it's hard. Your one might be someone hiding in plain sight. And sometimes, let me tell you about Jesus, just doesn't feel like the most natural way to have a conversation. But we're in this together. Tens of thousands of believers have found their one. And you can learn from them. Listen, everyone is talking about how the world has changed. But one person sharing Christ with one other person, that is real change. And it comes when you answer the question, who's your one?
One can seem like such an insignificant number. I mean, the value of just $1 is just not that much these days. And we all know who can eat just one potato chip, right? Like, that's impossible. But, so the one doesn't seem like much, but one transformed life is enormous. That's enormous. We've been focusing on who's your one, right? And asking you guys to think about one person, just one person, that you might pray for, invite to church, tell them about Jesus Christ. You know, the Bible consistently talks about one in different terms. It talks about the one pearl of great price. It talks about the one lost sheep, the one wayward son, and how just one person coming to Christ sets off a celebration in heaven. So that one invitation to church, that one neighbor, that one coworker, that one friend, that's what we want to focus on. And the fact that you are designed as a Christian to be a witness, to share your story. It's compelling. It is hard to avoid talking about your experiences. That's what we do. When we have experiences, when things happen, we want to talk about those things. We want to share those things. And I want to encourage you to do that. It just becomes difficult when it's about something so serious as spiritual things. Yesterday we went to a football game. This is a weird experience for me right now because my daughter's on the dance team. I've never had the experience of going to a ball game not to watch the ball game. It's kind of weird, you know. But, you know, I'm trying to focus in on, they're playing a song in between. I'm trying to watch them and film them and all that kind of stuff. That football thing is just, you know, in the background back there, you know, kind of thing. But her roommate sat with us at the game, and at a certain point in the game, this guy comes and sits by her roommate. He is making his move, okay? The only thing is, this guy is an idiot. His moves are bad. Like, this is bad. It's bad. He consistently is talking about the wrong things. You know, at one point, he's telling her how attractive someone else is, you know. And I'm like, there's a point, I wanted to just lean up and say, dude, just stop talking. Just stop talking, you know. He said so many incredible things that after the game was over, her and Rachel were going to go out and get something to eat together, and we were leaving to drive back, and she said, I have our whole dinner conversation is already mapped out because I have to tell you all the things this guy said, right? We have our story. We have our conversation for the evening. See, that's the way life is, actually. Whatever things you're experiencing, that's what you talk about. So if you have a vibrant relationship with Jesus Christ, if you're interacting with Him and He's impacting your life, you have stories to tell. You have things to say to other people, just like you do about any other thing. About the knucklehead who's trying to make a move on the roommate. Like, you have stories to tell about what Jesus is doing in your life, how He's interacting in your life. You have things to say. What He's done for you, what He's doing for you, what He will do for you. And that's why Jesus just proclaimed, you will witnesses. When the Spirit of God comes into your life, He comes with power, and that is power to make you into a witness for me. That's what I want to talk to you about today, okay? We're going to talk about who's your one. Now, I think there are reasons sometimes why we don't have those conversations. I want to share with you 5 of those. 3 of them are kind of doctrinal. They're like your belief system, and they throw us off from talking about Jesus, okay? One of those is inclusiveness. It's this idea that there are just probably a lot of pathways to God, and as long as you're a good person, you'll get there. So people who believe that tends to make them shy away from talking about Jesus, because the Scripture talks about Jesus being the way. And so, but if you could just be a good follower, then there's no need for Christianity anyway, right? If there are 15 different ways to the Lord, then why would Jesus even have to die on the cross for our sins? Like, that's just unnecessary if there are other ways, right? There's other things to do. That seems like, what an arbitrary, horrible thing for God to do, to make Jesus Christ die for the sins of the world if He didn't have to die for the sins of the world, right? So if you believe in this inclusive, like there's so many different paths, all you're worried about is moral behavior. Is that person a good, decent person? If they're a good person, they're probably on the right path. So you don't share your faith. The second reason is tolerance, a desire to be tolerant. And in our culture, we like tolerance. We want to just, be easy on everybody and we don't like the idea of an intolerant view. Now, there are intolerant views all around the world, and actually Christianity is an intolerant view. It says there's one way. God started it in the 10 Commandments. This is what He said. He said, I'm God, and there will be no other gods before me. That's pretty intolerant, isn't it? Like, I'm God, and there's nothing else above me. Don't put anything else above me. That's what He said. The New Testament says there is no other name under heaven except Jesus Christ by which you can be saved. No other name. Jesus Himself said, there is no other way. I am the way. There's no other way to the Father but through me. It's very intolerant, right? It's like there's one way. It's exclusive. If you really study religions, most religions, there are certain religions that their actual religion belief is tolerant of anything. Like, everybody gets saved, right? All the other religions, they have exclusivity. There's a path. Christianity is no exception. There's a path. But if you believe in, this desire to be tolerant, here's what happens. You're in a conversation with someone, and they say, do you really think that if I don't choose to follow Jesus Christ, that you're saying that I am condemned to an eternity in hell? Now, the answer to that question is yes. But, what do we usually say? Well, I don't want to, we step back from it. Because that seems so offensive, right? To say yes. But it is also an important concept. You need Christ. Here's a third doctrinal thing. And it's just a disbelief in hell. How could a good God send anyone to eternal damnation? And there's this horrible place. And how can that happen? Can a person really reject God and He allow it if He loves us? Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm just going to tell you, my personal journey coming to the Lord, hell had a big part to play in it. I looked at the pathways and I said, I don't want to go there. Like, it was more appealing to me to avoid hell than to get to heaven. I don't mean that in a bad way, but some of you may like, I want heaven, I want heaven. For me, it was, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that. I want to avoid that. Right? So when we remove hell, when we move some kind of eternal punishment from the equation, that causes us not to want to share Christ. Like, what does it matter? Like, what does it matter if you're not avoiding anything? What if you just, this is it, you die, it's over, whatever. So there are doctrinal reasons that people don't share. But actually, I think the main reason people don't share is because of some practical reasons, not belief reasons, not doctrinal reasons, but practical reasons. I'll tell you two main ones. One is busyness. Busyness. Everyone in here is really busy. You have a to-do list, you have a calendar, you have things that you need to do, and you have things that you want to do. I could probably poll everyone in here and say, how many things can you name that you really wish could get done today, but you already know they're not going to get done today? Probably everybody in here could tell me 5 things. Like, I wish this could happen today, but it's probably not going to get to it. Because, well, one, I'm busy, but, also there are things I want to do. Like if I squeeze that nap in or watch that ball game or do whatever. And so we're just busy. Now, here's the truth. And I believe this with all my heart to everyone in this room who's a believer. I believe that if someone came to you and said, would you tell me about Jesus Christ? You would say yes. I believe that. I don't believe that you would go, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't think you would do that. I think if they said, can I ask you a question? Can you tell me, how you came to know Christ? Would you tell me why you go to church? I just have a faith question for you. Could I ask you this question? I believe you would answer it. That's what I believe. The problem is, how many of you does that happen very often, right? Like that almost never happens, right? Somebody asking you a question like that. So the truth is, we're doing this Who's Your One campaign. We're asking you, figure out one person, pray for them, talk to them, share Christ with them, invite them to church. That's the campaign. Find one person. But the thing is, if you're going to have a faith conversation with them, you may have to be the trigger for it. You're not going to just, what would be great? This would be great. What if God, let's do it this way, I just pray really hard about the person, and then I sit here and wait, and you do something in their life and their heart until they come up to me and go, would you tell me about Jesus? And I go, yes. Okay. So what happens is we know that what really needs to happen is for my friend to come to know Christ, or at least hear the message, hear what he's done in my life. I'm going to have to be the person who engages in that. I'm going to have to say, hey, let's have a faith conversation. Let's talk. I want to tell you about this. All right? Which brings me to my second thing. So in other words, you have to schedule it. You have to be the person who initiates. And if it doesn't get up high enough on our list of things, I never get past number 10 anyway. So if it's down number 15, I'm just never going to get to it. And so I go day after day after day, and I never share my faith. Even with the person I most want to share my faith with, I don't share it. I just keep hoping it just sort of magically comes up. So one of the other main reasons, practical reasons, is fear of rejection. I don't want to talk about this and somebody go like, ugh, why are you telling me about this thing, right? I don't want to hear about it. Right? Now the truth is, polls show that if they ask unchurched people, are you open to a faith conversation? They ask this of unchurched people. Are you open to a faith conversation? 75% of those people said, sure. Now, I know what you think. Your fear says 1 out of 10, right? And I'm going to get one of those other 9. And they're going to reject the conversation. And it's going to be embarrassing or tough, whatever. The truth is, it's 75% are open. Now, what many of you just heard is, oh my gosh, 25% don't want to hear this. Like, that's what you're... 75% are open to conversation. What you need to understand about the 25% too is they're not rejecting you. All right, here's the example I used in the first service. How many of you know what wiggles are? Let's talk about wiggles. Who knows what wiggles are? Y'all know what wiggles are? Anybody else? Okay, you know what wiggles are? Anybody? Who of you, do you love Wickles? Of course. You do. Okay, there's believers row over there. Yes. Stevie. Yes. I love Wickles too. I'm especially fond of, don't mean to gross you out, I'm especially fond of the okra Wickles. I don't know how you feel about this. Let me tell you what Wickles are. Oh, yes. Amen. I just got an amen. Thank you. Wickles is a company, a small company here in Alabama. They're pickles that are wicked. They're pickles with a kick. They have peppers in them. They're a little hot. They're a little spicy. They're pickles, like dill pickles, sweet pickles, whatever. They're pickles with a little in them. So if you like a little fire, a little heat, you eat the pickle, and then somewhere in the process of while you're eating the pickle, a little fire comes in there. Now, I love it, okay? I love it. So I'm a Whipple apologist, okay? Like, you come over to my house, you're like, you tried a Whipple? Here, have a Whipple, right? I'm a witness for Wickles, okay? So one of my friends who comes to my small group, I said, like, try this. And so he tried it, he ate the Wickle, and now he loves Wickles. He loves Wickles, right? And now he buys Wickles, right? We introduced Wickles to my daughter's roommate. Yesterday was my daughter's roommate's birthday. So we went to visit with them, and it was to see Rachel and everything, but it was on her roommate's birthday. So we're celebrating the birthday, and we got up there, and Perlene pulls a jar of Wickles out and goes, "Happy birthday." That's what we carried this girl, a jar of Wickles. But you can't get those things in Mississippi. They're Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're here, and she's fallen in love with them, so we carried her some. All right, now, here's what you have to understand. I have shared Wickles with some of you. Who in here hates pickles already? You hate pickles. Okay, you're not going to like these things. Okay, you're not going to like them. If I went, go ahead, try them. They're not like regular pickles. I'm pretty convincing. I might get you to try them. But let me tell you what you're going to do. You're going to go, oh my gosh, these are nasty. Why would anybody, these are horrible, and then you added another horrible thing on top of it, okay? That's what you're going to say. Now, we don't like it when somebody rejects something that we like. You experience that. It's hard for you. One of my sons goes like, listen to this song, listen to this song, listen to this song. It's the best song. Do you like this group? Do you like this song? It's just such an awesome song. And I listen to the song, and I go, and it hurts his heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're rejecting a song that I think is great? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you tell somebody a restaurant's good, and they go like, you're like, right? But they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the song. They're rejecting the pickle, right? You just have to understand, even when you're sharing Christ, if they reject Christ, they're not rejecting you. I can still work with you, be friends with you, go to school with you, whatever our interaction is, I can still have that with you. You've just rejected this thing that I love, but that's okay. So if I can get past all of these things, I can share. And I want to tell you how you overcome those things, okay? So one of the things you have to do to overcome these things is remember, number one, remember the glorious gospel. It's the gospel. Gospel means good news. It's really, really good news. It's the good news that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, has died for our sins and rose again to eternally be triumphant over our enemies. There's now no condemnation for those who believe in Him, only everlasting joy. This is good news. Focus on the good news. The good news is awesome. All right? Secondly, you have to have hope in the power of God. God is awesome. He can do awesome things. Okay? He is powerful. And so there might be someone in your life that you look at and go like, I don't know if they're ever going to turn to the Lord. Let me tell you something. The Lord can have an interaction with a person, and if they choose to believe in Him, He can change their life. He can stop them in their tracks, take out their heart of stone, and put a new heart within them. It's the transforming power of God. He is not limited by your ability to share or the hardness of their heart. Not limited by that. He can take you and them and take your story and speak to their heart, and they can choose to accept him, and he can change their life. He is powerful. He is powerful. Like, imagine if you said, Lord, despite me and my limitations, if I share my faith with this person, would you just use it? Would you take it through? Like, I don't think God can say, like, I don't know, you're pretty pathetic. I don't know if I can use you. I don't know. No, God is powerful. Hope in the power of God. Thirdly, just speak boldly for the Lord. You want to taste the power of God? You want to taste His power? Watch Him transform somebody's life. You want to see the power of God? Like, I want to see it. I'd like to see it week after week after week. You want to see the power of God? Watch Him change somebody's life. It's amazing. When you see the power of God, take that heart and switch it out. That's why he says in Mark 8:35, he says, whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. In other words, if you're willing to risk sharing your faith, watch what he does. It's unbelievable what he can do. Speak boldly for Christ. Now, who do I speak to? Who would be my one? All right, so I want to share with you where I thought about this week. I was walking along, I was like, where would I interact? Where would I find my one? Where do I find the person that wants to know Christ? Okay? Am I just going to haphazardly run into them, in an elevator somewhere? Well, probably not in Millbrook, but because there's no elevators. Just thought I'd help you with that. Okay, all right. But interacting with someone, where do I get those people? So as I was thinking, I thought about where that happens for me. And it's probably the same places as for you. So it's these things. My places, my people, my peers, and my past. Let me share with you what I mean. First, my places. I have places that I go. And you have places that you go. Right? There are places that we go. All right? I go to a certain grocery store. That's the grocery store I go to. There's a handful of restaurants, 3 or 4 of them. I go there regularly, right? I go to this gym, this particular gym. I go to this particular school. I have my places. And at every one of those places, there are people that I regularly see and that regularly see me. And so we interact. And so, this waitress, this other customer, this person, that person, like you just kind of see the same people. They might not even know my name. I don't know theirs, but like we see them regularly. And so that's an interacting point. One of those places for me now is where my daughter goes to school. And so we know some of her friends, right? And meet them and know who they are. So we interact with that. These are my places. Now you have places. And your one, or the one that the Lord wants you to focus on right now, might be in one of those places. Okay? Secondly, my people. Now let me tell you who my people are. My people are the people that I actually directly contact on their birthday. I call them or text them. You send them one of those cute Bitmojis with, a card exploding with confetti and say, hey, it's me, happy birthday. And isn't that awesome? You can avoid the phone call now. Anyway, I'm not talking about the one that you send to Facebook. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the person you directly contact. Those are your people. They're your nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, cousins. They're your people, right? And you have your people. And you're really close to those people. Your one might be amongst those people. It's somebody you really care about, and you really want them to know Christ. You really want them to walk with the Lord. And you're very concerned about that person. They're your people. My places, my people, my peers. Now, you either go to work, go to school, unless you're retirement age, you're in one of those things. You go to work or you go to school, and because of that, you have a peer group. You have people you work with, and then you have people that are connected to that group of people. So like, I not only have the people that I work with in my office, but our office does business with other vendors, like a printer, somebody who works on our building, maintenance crew, like different things. We have these interactions with these people, and it's a peer group. I have other pastors that they pastor their church, and I pastor mine, and we're in a peer group, right? And so you have all these connections, and they're through your work or your school, and your one might be in that group. It's just people you interact with on a daily basis because of what you do. So there's the places I go, there's my peer group, my work group, there's my people, and then finally I would say there's my past. Now what I mean by my past is there are people that I don't really run into now, but I used to. I went to high school with them, I went to college with them, I used to live near them in another town I lived in years ago. We went to church together, that kind of thing, okay? I have this group of people from my past. And because of that, when I interact with those people, there's this automatic thing that takes place. You go, hey, oh my gosh, look at you. I haven't seen you in forever. I saw somebody this week. And he looked at me and I looked at him and he goes, the gray hair, right? I mean, look at us. Like we're old now, right? And that just happened. We met a guy about a little over a year ago. He was a Jewish businessman from New York City, okay? And we met him, we started talking to him. He had never met a Christian Baptist from Alabama. I don't know if he'd ever met an actual, what's called a Southern Baptist. Never met him. I said, that's okay, I've never met a Jewish businessman from New York City, okay? He was hilarious. We saw each other, we met each other on this trip, we talked, we visited, whatever. I've exchanged emails with him a couple times. So it's possible that I might be going to New York at some time in the future. And so we were talking about this trip. So I emailed him. I said, hey, I might be coming to New York City on this date. He says, hey, that's fantastic. On those dates, I'm going to Florida. And then the next thing he said in his email, what's been going on with you? How's your family? Because that's what you say to someone from the past. So a door opens up, right? And of course I said, here's what's happening with me. Now what is happening with you? Are there things about Jesus happening with you? You know? Well, what's happening with you? And guess what he told me? This is crazy. I didn't know this. I did not know that he was a Penn State graduate and he was going to the Penn State-Auburn game yesterday in Pennsylvania. And so I, on behalf of all of you, you know I don't personally feel this way, but I said, War Eagle, you're welcome. It didn't matter. I was so hoping it would. You know, I was so hoping I could kind of rub a little Alabama in, you know, whatever. But I didn't, you know, didn't get to. But anyway, when you run into somebody from your past, it inevitably comes, what's been happening with you? What's been happening? And there are opportunities. Maybe your one comes from that realm. I think there's a good shot your one comes from somebody in this realm. This is who you share Christ with. You share Christ with your people, with your peers, your places, or your past. Now, what I want to say to you then is take advantage of every one of those opportunities. Use those opportunities wisely. Life is a series of never to be repeated opportunities. Whether we're on a course or on a detour, we run into people, we have these situations that can be used for eternal purposes, or they might be missed. But there's never an insignificant moment in the life of a Christian who is radically devoted to purchasing life's little moments for eternity. Who is God telling you to pray for, to encourage, to support, to talk to? Write down their name. Share it with your small group. Pray for them. So let me tell you 3 ways you can pray. I want to tell you 3 ways that you can pray right now. Number 1, pray for an opportunity to talk about Jesus. Pray for an opportunity. Paul said, as he asked for prayer from a group of people, he said, pray for us too, that God may open a door for our message, that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ. He said, open a door. Pray for an opportunity. Pray for an opportunity. And if you're praying for a particular one, pray for that opportunity. Pray for the guts, the strength, to make an appointment with them to talk about it. Remember, we just finished a series on Nehemiah, and one of the things about that series was Nehemiah wanted to do something. He had a burden about building a wall for his people. In order to do that, he needed to talk to the king. So he kept praying for an opportunity to talk to the king. Just pray for an opportunity to talk about Jesus. Give me an opening, Lord, and I'll walk through it. Give me the opening. Secondly, pray for God to prepare the hearts of whoever that person is. Now, if you go to my home, I live in my home, my yard, my area is flat. It's really flat. When they built you can't really tell, but when they built my house, they had to put concrete blocks up and build the foundation up a little bit because it's flat, and then sloped up a little bit too. You can't really tell, but it's sloped up a little bit. But now, if you start driving off my drive, you should stay on my driveway if you come to my house, okay? If you get off the drive, you can get off a little bit. But if you go very far off the drive and it's been raining, guess what happens? You're going to be there, okay? Because rain softens the earth. So one of the things that you pray for is you pray for God to soften hearts. You pray for Him to send rain. See, sometimes it's the rains of life, it's the storms of life. I was talking to someone the other day. It was one of those places I go, right? And one of those people I see at those places, and we ended up standing by each other and having a brief conversation. And I was like, how are things going? And all of a sudden they started telling me about some tough situation that they were in. That's what happens, right? So just pray that God would soften their heart. Whoever this one is, Lord, prepare their heart so that I can talk to them. And here's the third thing I want you to pray for. I want you to pray that God would tenderize your heart. Make you aware. You're so busy, you're so distracted, you have so many things to do, you're on your agenda, you can miss it. You can miss it. You don't want to miss the opportunity. You don't want to miss that door being open. You don't want to miss the nudge from the Lord that there's the person, talk to that person, share Christ with that person, have the conversation. They're opening the door. Tenderize your heart to be brave enough to say, hey, why don't you come to church with me? Hey, let's talk about faith. Let's talk about spiritual things. Let's talk about Jesus Christ. The transformation, the things that He's done in my life, what He can do in your life, let me share with you. Now, let me say something to you. I want you to understand something. Even to someone who might be reluctant to hear the gospel, you need to understand something that they believe. If that person knows that you're a Christian, there's some assumptions that they're going to make, okay? Let's assume they know. I'll take on that persona. Let's say I know you're a Christian. And here's what I know. I know that you believe, whether I believe it or not, you believe that you have found the way, right? You found the path. And that if I haven't, I'm destined for eternal damnation. You believe that, okay? Now, I also know that you believe that if I don't accept Christ, I'm doomed. So, here's the truth. If you love me, if you care about me, I know that what you believe is that you are compelled to tell me. You must tell me. Even if there's no other reason than that you love me. In fact, I'm expecting you to tell me. In fact, one of the most offensive things you can do is not tell me about Jesus, but refuse to tell me. Because if you don't tell me, there's only two possibilities. One, you don't really believe it, or two, you don't care about me. Because if you really believe what you claim to believe, you have to tell me if you care about me. I'm expecting it. I may disagree with it. I may not want to hear it, but I'm expecting you to come to me and say, Jim, I just need to tell you, I have to tell you this. I've approached it that way. I've gone up to somebody and said to them, hey, I'm a Christian. This is what a Christian really is. This is what we believe. And because I care about you, I have to tell you this. Do you mind if I tell you about this? And it's because I care. And they said, bring it on. Yeah, tell me. I just want you to know I love you. I care about you. I need you to know this. And they appreciate it, even as they're pushing it aside. I appreciate that you love Wiggles. I don't want it, right? I appreciate that you love Jesus. I don't want it. But I understand that you have to tell me. They're waiting for you to tell them. They're waiting for you to tell them. It means the world to them. It means you care about them. It means you believe when you say, go tell them. Go tell them. Who is your one? So the invitation is very simple today. It is, you need to pray about who that one is and pray for an opportunity. This is what I believe. If you pray for an opportunity this week, if you say, Lord, give me an opportunity, and if you give me one, I won't let it slide by. I'm saying to you, I don't think you'll make it to Wednesday. I don't think you'll make it to Wednesday because he'll go like, okay, I got a whole file of people. I'm just waiting for people to be willing. If you'll share. And then really pray for your one. Really pray for an opportunity to share with your one the good news of what Jesus Christ did for you. That's what we're about to sing about. Is the good news of what Jesus Christ did for you. Would you stand with me this morning? Let's stand together. Let's sing about what Jesus Christ did for us. And as you think about the glorious gospel, I want you to think about the message